last lecture we discussed about the problems of commons and the collective goods. So, what is the basic problem we found? The basic problem that we have found is how to sustain the common itself given the collective actions. So, in this respect we need to understand what is the sustainability in the commons, or how the collective actions can be sustained for to be called as successful collective actions. So, in this context we need to understand what is sustainability, and here in this module we will be discussing environmental sustainability and some of the indices that is helpful in capturing this environmental sustainability. So, what exactly the meaning is the meaning of the sustainability? So, we can say sustainability is the word which may mean to hold, to maintain or to support. So, this is what, if you see want to find the origin of the concept of sustainability, then we can find this word is derived from the Latin word called sustinere, and its meaning is to sustain, to support or to maintain. And if you want to find out the dictionary meaning of the sustainability, then we can find the definition given in the Cambridge dictionary, and sustainability means the quality of being able to continue forever or for a long period of time. So, that means here we want to say that sustainability means to sustain or to maintain the quality of a thing, of a system, which can continue for a longer period of time or forever. So, that is what the meaning of sustainability from the very word we can know. And in this respect, by taking into account the etymological meaning, that is the derivation of the word itself, and the dictionary meaning of the sustainability, we can say that now sustainability formally can be defined as the ability to continue a definite behavior for infinite time. So, if a particular behavior, particular pattern of the behavior of a system can be found for infinite time, for a longer period of time, then we can say that this is sustainability, or that particular characteristics, the particular quality can be sustained. So, in this respect we can actually take the very meaning of sustainability from Solo's work. So, in 1991 he tried to find out, he tried to understand the meaning of the sustainability itself through examples. That he had taken these examples that every generation should leave water, air or soil resources as pure and unpolluted as when it came on earth. So, perhaps this is the meaning of sustainability, but it is not the definition. This is the example of sustainability, and we need to understand it, what is the meaning behind it and how to define sustainability. So, that means here if you see the original meaning of sustainability, the concept of sustainability or the dictionary meaning of the sustainability, we are finding the same thing, that every generation should leave the water, these resources, as pure and unpolluted when they came on the earth. That means the particular characteristics of water, air, soil resources or other resources or other systems, they need to continue the same quality, and if it is, then these characteristics, these qualities of water, air, soil resources or other resources or other systems can be called as sustainability. So, in another example he talked about that each generation should live on diminished all of the species animals it found existing on earth. So, another example can be that if all the species and their quantity and their spread over their populations are undiminished in the on the earth itself, then we can say this is the example of sustainability. So, this is what we are saying. We can found the examples that are given by Robert Solow in 1991. Then we can also talk about the sustainability or the definition of the sustainability. And for Herman Daly, sustainability means if the renewable resources are not used faster than they get generated, then it may mean this is the sustainability in terms of the sustainable yield of renewable resources. So, what is the definition then? The definition is that these renewable resources, if you need to say that what is sustainability in renewable resources, then we can say that renewable resources can be sustainable if their use is lesser than their regeneration. If their use or if their extraction is faster than the rate at which the renewable resources can get regenerate, then it is not sustainable resources. So, the second examples can be, or the second parameters of sustainability can be understood in terms of pollutions and waste. And he also talked that the pollutions and waste shall not be put into the environment faster than the environment can recycle them or render them harmless. That means, here he talked about two qualities. The first one is the quality of the environment in terms of what is the amount of pollution or waste that is generated because of the economic activities, and the second is the assimilative capacity of the environment itself. So, as you understand that environment is having its assimilative capacity, that means it is having a natural capacity to recycle all the pollutions, and waste, not all the pollution and all the waste. And if the pollutions, the amount of pollutions and amount of waste is less than the assimilative capacity of the earth, and so that earth can automatically or naturally recycle them, then this is called the sustainability of economic activity. And here we need to understand that when we undertake any economic activity, the byproducts are the pollutions or waste. And if the economic activities or the productions are to be treated sustainable, we need to think about the amount of pollutions and the assimilative capacity of the earth itself. And the third one, he gave this example, another criteria we can say for the sustainability, to understand the sustainability, it is in terms of non-renewable resources and the substitutes of these non-renewable resources. So, what is the meaning of this? So, he talked about that these non-renewable resources shall not be used faster than the renewable substitutes. So, again, what is this meaning? That non-renewable resources, it should not be extracted, it should not be exploited faster than the substitutes, faster than its substitutes in terms of renewable resources. If it is so, then we can say that we are using these non-renewable resources sustainably. So, in this respect, we can take this example, we can have this example. Suppose say we are taking coal as non-renewable resources, and if the coal is extracted, used faster than its substitutes in terms of renewable resources, that means the work what these non-renewable resource like coal is doing, if some kind of other good or other service or other element is developed which can be a substitute to coal and which can produce similar work. So, that is we are saying they are substitutes of these non-renewable resources. So, here when the non-renewable resources are not used faster than the renewable substitutes, then we are saying that this non-renewable resources like coal is sustainably used. But however, if we analyze this definition, then we can find that this definition is not giving a complete picture of sustainability, because this definition is not talking about the level of quality of life, which is also necessary for understanding the sustainability as well. And if you want to find out what is the original instance of sustainability in academia perhaps, then we can go back to this book Limits to Growth by Meadows and their co-authors in 1972. And what is the nobleness of this book, or what is the importance of this book? For the first time, this book talked about the limits of Earth's system, that is the Earth's carrying capacity in relation to the anthropogenic activities and Anthropocene. So, that means here this book talked about for the first time Earth's carrying capacity with respect to some global variables like population, economic activities and the status of the environment itself. And in this book, the authors, they very much used this word sustainable. Although they have not defined the word, or they have not propounded any definition of this word sustainability, but frequently they have used this word sustainable. So, that is why it will be wiser to quote some portion of this book in order to understand the sustainable or sustainability. So, to see this, to get this some portion of this book, it has been stated, it is possible to alter the growth trends and to establish a condition of ecological and economic stability that is sustainable far into the future. So, here we are using the word sustainable, although we have not defined here. The authors have not defined the concept sustainable or the meaning of the concept sustainable, but they have used the context. And the second one is the state of global equilibrium could be designed so that the basic material needs of the person on the earth will be satisfied, and each person they will be getting equal opportunity to realize their individual potential. So, from this we can actually understand the very applications of or very understanding of the concept sustainability in 1972 concept of or 72 book that is Limits to Growth. So, here the authors they wanted to highlight that the system can be sustainable, that is the condition of ecological and economic sustainability can happen if we are going to change the growth trends, the way we are running after the growth in terms of the macro parameter like GDP. But however, if you want to see the very concept used as a framework, then we can go back to the IUCN's World Strategies of the International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources in 1980. World Strategies for Sustainable Development, or how to conserve the resources for sustainability. And however, popularly this word was used in the report that is known as the Our Common Future report, which is popularly known as again the Brundtland's report. So, in Brundtland's report, the very concept of sustainability got its definitions and it was elaborated over the year. And as you understand that this Brundtland report is named after this Norwegian Prime Minister Gro Harlem Brundtland, where the sustainable development and or sustainability concept was popularized and emphasized to be reflected in the public policies of the countries throughout the world in order to sustain the resources, for not only meeting the present generation needs, but also for the needs of the future generations. So, that is why in this report, Our Common Futures report in 87, sustainable development got its formal definition, which is defined as the development which meets the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. And again, this definition of sustainability in 1987 was further extended by the Earth Summit in 1992 in form of Agenda 21. So, what is Agenda 21? That is agenda for the 21st century for achieving the sustainable development. So, again the World Summit on Sustainable Development in 2002 emphasized 3 different parameters which are called 3 pillars of sustainability, taking into account the social sustainability, environmental sustainability and economic sustainability based on this motto of the summit, that is people, planet and prosperity. So, this social sustainability means it should be satisfying the people's societal aspects. And when you are saying this environmental sustainability, it is related to the planet itself. And when you are saying it is economic, it is related to the prosperity of the human being. So, this is how the very concept sustainability has got extended in by the Earth Summits in 92 as well as World Summit on the Sustainable Development in 2002. However, these two words sustainability and sustainable development, they are not the same, although the very fundamental sense or fundamental backbone of these two words are same here. Then what is the difference? The difference is that when you are saying the sustainability, it refers to a system's property, the characteristics of a system, that is the quality of a system itself, a system property or the quality itself. But what is sustainable development? In order to understand the sustainable development, we can actually refer to the Article 1 of the Rio Declaration 1992, United Nations Conference on Environment and Development. So, there sustainable development is understood as the center of the concerns. Who are these centers of the concerns for the sustainable development? They are the human beings. For sustainable development, human beings are the apex, are the center for all these concerns. So, that means the human beings need to be healthy and productive. and they need to have a harmony with the nature itself. That is what the meaning of sustainable development as is understood from the article 1 of the Rio declarations. So, what is the difference then? Sustainability is nothing but the quality of a system, the very property or characteristics a system is displaying, that is sustainability. Whereas sustainable development is concerned to the human beings development in terms of getting healthy and productive life, in terms of getting a harmony with the nature itself. So, in this context we can say that this term sustainability implies the very characteristics of system or a program or a resources that can last forever, whereas sustainable development means we are focusing the human beings development and how their needs can get satisfied along with the present generation and future generations. So, after understanding the very meaning, the concept of sustainable development, now we need to think about what needs to be sustained by taking into account different schools of thought. So, what are these schools of thought? What needs to be sustained from different disciplinary boundaries or as is understood by different disciplines. So, let us start from the economics itself, how the economists they are perceiving this sustainability or sustained. So, for economists this sustainability means maintaining or improving the human welfare. The center is the human welfare through different long term stability in terms of economic output, income, profit, consumptions, sales and other economic parameters. So, for economists, how we are defining this sustainability or how the economy can be sustained? If the human welfare can be improved or maintained by taking into account the economic output, income and consumption. If it is so, then you can say that we do have a sustainable economy. So, in understanding this economist view of sustainability, we can actually take the example or explanation by Robert Solow again. So, in 1991, Robert Solow defined this sustainability as making sure the next generation is as well off as the current generation and ensuring that this continues for all the time to come, forever, for infinite period of time. So, here economic sustainability is that we need to see the well-being of the present generation as well as the future generations, and this level of welfare should be continued forever. So, this is what the economists they are perceiving the very meaning of sustainability. Now, let us talk about the ecologist viewpoint on the sustainability itself. So, for an ecologist, sustainability means how to sustain the ecosystems, how to sustain, how to preserve, how to maintain the very biosphere for long period of time or for infinite time. And another schools of thought that talks about the sustainability as perceived by the anthropologist. So, for anthropologist, this sustainability means focusing or protecting and preserving the very cultures and very languages of the society. When we are maintaining, we are protecting, we are preserving the languages, the culture of the society, then we can say that this is sustainability in terms of societal sustainable. And another aspect of sustainability is environmental sustainability. So, what is environmental sustainability, or we can say sustainable environment? So, originally this environmental sustainability was used in terms of environmentally responsible development. And this was for the very first time it was used by World Bank in 92 for meaning what is the environmental sustainability. And again with due course of time, this environmentally responsible development, it was known as environmentally sustainable development. And finally, if you see the literature in 95, then this concept got evolved and we found this concept environmental sustainable development. And perhaps these concepts are the reflections of environmental sustainability. So, what exactly is the meaning of this environmental sustainability or environment sustainability? It can refer to the rates of renewable resource harvest, the rates of pollution creation, the rates of non-renewable resource depletion that can be continued forever. If it is allowed, if the renewable resources are harvested continuously at the same rate, if the pollution creation is there, and if without any other repercussions, and if the non-renewable resources, their depletions occur at the same rate for quite a long period of time or for indefinite time, then this kind of state is known as the environmental sustainability. So, that means we need to say that this environmental sustainability can be interpreted as the same thing as the sustainable development. So, what is sustainable development? That we have already talked about by taking the definition of Brundtland Commission, our common future in 1987. So, this sustainability implies the utilization of natural resources in such a way that the present generation's needs are fulfilled without sacrificing the needs of the future generations. So, if both the generations' needs are fulfilled without any kind of sacrifice, without any kind of trade-off, then this growth, this development is known as the sustainable development. And here, in defining this sustainable development, we can also, or this can be also explained in terms of carrying capacity of the system. So, sustainable development can be understood in terms of the carrying capacity of the system itself. So, what is the carrying capacity of the system? So, the carrying capacity of the system is expressed in terms of the maximum population species that a particular nature or natural system can sustain for a quite long period of time given the standard of living. So, that is why the first definition, that is taking the needs of the present generation and the future generation as well, this is the same thing as we are defining the carrying capacity. So, environmental sustainability can also be interpreted or can also be expressed in terms of this concept carrying capacity of the system itself. So, systematically we can now define the environmental sustainability, that is environmental sustainability seeks to improve human welfare by protecting the resources of raw materials used for the human needs and ensuring that the sinks for the human waste are not exceeded in order to prevent the harm to humans. So, what you are highlighting in explaining this environmental, in defining this environmental sustainability, that means we need to seek the how to improve the human welfare, but side by side we need to see that how resources for the raw materials they need to be protected. And we need to ensure that the human waste in terms of the sinks should not be exceeded the carrying capacity, or sorry, should not be exceeded the assimilative capacity of the nature itself. So, that the resources for the raw materials or the raw material resources that can be they can be protected and the environmental sustainability can happen. So, after understanding this environmental sustainability and its definition, let us summarize what we have discussed today. So, we started with the definition, that is layman's definitions and understanding of sustainability. Then we moved to the understanding of origin and history of sustainability and also the sustainable development. We discussed what are the pillars of sustainability, take into account the social, economic and environmental sustainability. Then we have made a differentiation between the sustainability and sustainable development, and we also discussed what needs to be sustained, taking into account different perspectives from the economist viewpoint, from anthropologist viewpoint and from ecologist viewpoint. And we also discussed about environmental sustainability and environmental sustainable development. So, having discussed all this, now in the next class we will be discussing the rest portion of this environmental sustainability. So, we will be discussing the economic sustainability, social sustainability, and what is the difference between weak sustainability and strong sustainability, and what can the criteria for measuring the environmental sustainability. Is there any indicator or some existing indices are there that we will be exploring in the next class. Thank you very much.